concept of face is an important and culturally significant idea to grasp because it affects a great deal of our intercultural relationships. Understanding face, how it works, and how it can derail a negotiation is very important to a person seeking intercultural competence. And awareness of face at all times is an important element of being successful in intercultural contexts. The concept of face maintenance and face negotiation theory is an essential consideration when interacting with people from East Asian and high context cultures generally. The work of Stella Ting-Toomey, specifically her research on face, has given us a great deal of understanding of this concept in crossing cultures in the West. And Irving Goffman's concept of face work is something that helps us understand how face works in U.S. American culture as well. But first we need to know what face is. Face is how we want to be seen, as well as how we are actually seen by others, no matter the culture. While face is often mostly associated with East Asian cultures, as I've said, most researchers who cite face as a concept present it as an aspect of all cultures universally, because perception of self and affording respect are important to all people in all cultures all over the world. So face is ubiquitous in its relevance, and it refers to the dignity, honor, or status of a person. The other person's sense of self must be respected to give face to that person. When the necessary respect is not given, then face is lost, and conflict may result. We talk about having to struggle to fight to preserve face, which is, again, that public self-image that members of a group want to retain and preserve for themselves within their group. East Asian cultures may even go so far as to not consider the individual in terms of face, because a person is defined by their social relationships and belonging to the group. The violation of the relationship and what is expected because of that relationship results in a loss of face. Face in some cultures is defined by the social group, and belonging is signaled by knowing how to give face. And loss of face or causing others to lose face can result in being cast out of the group. Saving face means not just being respected, saving your own face, but also taking preventive actions so that others will not lose face, giving face. Preventing others from losing face is called giving face, and that demonstrates the importance of a relationship and never goes unnoticed in high face maintenance cultures. Giving face is fundamental to negotiations as well. A national identity or cultural group has a claim to the face of that whole group. If the group is disrespected, the person from the group would lose face on behalf of that group, their nation. Conversely, as a member of a cultural group, that person represents the whole group in a high face maintenance culture. So the loss of face of that individual represents a loss of face for the entire group or nation in some cases. In negotiations, loss of face at any point will result in a total breakdown of negotiations and can cause a very intense conflict, even war. So loss of face is not just some little disrespect you can give to another person, but can be very serious depending on the context. From Ting-Toomey, since all cultures negotiate with one another, one must be aware that loss of face is most at risk in problematic, uncertain situations where there is ambiguity and awkwardness. At all times, face negotiations must have both a self and other concern. One must preserve face, and thereby the face of the group or nation one is representing is also preserved, as well as preserve the other's face, thereby preserving respect for the whole nation or group in doing so. Within this concept on this slide, I'm not too sure how the ideas of negative or positive face are useful, but if so to you, feel free to research them further, those terms. They seem too complex to me to be and not intuitive enough to be useful. So if face maintenance is the need to maintain respect and the dignity of each person in a social or intercultural interaction or situation, then those cultures which we might consider to be high face maintenance cultures are mostly high context cultures, as Edward Hall defines it, where belonging to the group is very important and high in-group, out-group distinctions are paramount. The high face maintenance cultures are mainly East Asian cultures such as Japan, Korea, China. Conversely, low maintenance cultures such as the US, Brazil, or Italy are also associated with low context cultures, where these face work strategies are less important but still significant. Knowing the difference will be key to crossing cultures and negotiating interculturally, but effectively and appropriately. One tries to maintain face and is successful when conflict is avoided. A person who is direct is individualistic and comes from a low power distance culture. They tend to violate face rules more than someone who is from a high context, high power distance culture. For example, me. Calling attention to another's failure publicly will cause that other person to lose face, and there are many examples throughout history of where loss of face resulted in poor international relations for many years. There are many examples of how someone can lose face. Here's a list of a few: direct insults and derogatory remarks about a person, their status, or their country. Those go without saying. But also failure to achieve one's goals in a negotiation, a slight regarding personal inadequacy will certainly damage relationships, even permanently. Which of these have you caused a person to lose face or have caused you to lose face, and which of these do you commit regularly? No matter what, in terms of intercultural competence, your own face work competence, summarized by Ting-Toomey in this diagram, will be predictive of your intercultural success. Awareness is the beginning. Modifying behavior is the key. Feel free to pause the video here or copy down the link to get the direct quote from Ting-Toomey. Ting-Toomey's face negotiation model looks at ways of preserving or restoring face, being aware of those things that are face threatening, and performing face restoration or face saving acts for oneself or the other will depend on the context. One should always be aware of face honoring processes and give others generous honors through culturally and contextually determined face giving acts, which are other focused, and face assertion acts, which are self-focused. Face always requires a great deal of experience with the other culture to understand how to properly give face. What are the ritual? What do you have to do? That's why getting to know the other person is so important in high context and high face maintenance cultures. Knowing the other person helps you to honor that person properly. So face requires thick description, as Clifford Geertz defines it, and excellent observation skills. Loss of face will be visible in the other's behavior. You can see how they react. Because I am from a low face maintenance culture, the US, which is where I live and work and tend to do well, I often fail to maintain face because I make fun of myself, first of all. I also often fail to give face, as I like to use mistakes in my classroom as good examples, so my students often lose face. In high context, high face maintenance cultures, this results in a loss of my own face as well as the other's loss of face. This often is met with nervous laughter, so don't take laughter as a sign that the other's going along with you. It is often laughter of embarrassment. Embarrassment for you and embarrassment for the other who was caused to lose face. Given this, how well do you think I do in East Asia? Everything I've told you. Well, I do just fine because I modify my behavior in those cultures in order to be successful. I check my sense of humor at the border and become a new person in order to be effective and appropriate. That's what intercultural competence is all about. Here are some references that you can take a look at. Some of these are pretty small, but go ahead and take a look if you're interested in learning more about face. Otherwise, check out some more of my intercultural competence videos, and you'll learn more about what intercultural competence is and how to maybe seek it out for yourself.